Namaste and Jai Swaminarayan. Welcome to the Aksharbrahman Gunatit Satra 2021. Before we begin, let us look at an introduction of what the series is and begin this entire series with a traditional Mangalacharan. A Mangalacharan is typically done before any auspicious event. And so we take the first verse of the auspicious Satsang Diksha scripture, and we will recite the Mangalacharan to begin this special series. Swaminarayan Sakshad Akshar-Purushottam Sarvebhya Parimam Shanti Manandam Sukhamarpayet. May Swaminarayan, that is Akshar-Purushottam himself, bestow ultimate peace, bliss, and happiness onto all. The Aksharbrahman Gunatit Satra began in the year 2000 by the wish of His Holiness Mahant Swami Maharaj. And every year, from the day of Sharad Purnima, which is the birth of Aksharbrahman Gunatit Swami, all the way until Diwali, which is the auspicious 5-day occasion celebrating the Hindu New Year. For those 15 days, there is something called the Aksharbrahman Gunatit Satra, where Swamis of BAPS would speak on various topics of the Akshar-Purushottam darshan, or the philosophy of Akshar-Purushottam established by Bhagwan Swaminarayan. Typically, these lectures are given in the language of Gujarati. However, in this series, we aim to put some of those in English, to put some of these principles and concepts into English through an English lecture series. So many people are able to learn and benefit from this series. And so today, we begin with episode 1. The theme of this Gunatit Satra is a beginner's guide. We will be looking at a beginner's guide, or the very foundation of who Bhagwan Swaminarayan is, what the Akshar-Purushottam darshan is, what is the Tattva Gnan, or the entities within the Akshar-Purushottam darshan, how is the Akshar-Purushottam darshan in the Hindu Shastras, the Hindu scriptures, and then a look at a few of these scriptures within the Akshar-Purushottam darshan. It is important to note that this program is not affiliated with BAPS or the organization whatsoever. This project is done by a few individuals whom simply want people to learn about this special tradition. And so today, let us begin the Aksharbrahman Gunatit Satra with our first episode, A Beginner's Guide to Bhagwan Swaminarayan. Bhagwan Swaminarayan was born in 1781, and he left this earth in 1830. And he is the establisher of the Akshar-Purushottam darshan. Bhagwan Swaminarayan established what is known as Swaminarayan Vedanta, or the philosophy of Swaminarayan. And this is a distinct philosophy, and we'll look more into this in the upcoming lectures. But simply know that he is the establisher of this philosophy. Now, there are many names of Bhagwan Swaminarayan. There is the name Ghansham, given to him by his mother Bhakti Mata. There is the names of Hari Krishna and Hari Krishna, given to him during his naming ceremony by a sage by the name of Markandeya Muni, or Markandeya Rishi, in the village of Chappaya, where he was born. He was also known as Nilkant during his travels all around India. The reason he was known as Nilkant, as we will see, is Nilkant is a name of Shiv Bhagwan, of Lord Shivji. And this name was given to him during the Samudra Manthan, or the churning of the ocean, when Lord Shiv took the poison from the churning of the ocean and he put it in his throat in order to save all. And so he sacrificed his own body for the betterment of all. And so a similar connotation can be given, where Bhagwan Swaminarayan's teenage years was not only sacrificing his own body through severe penance and austerities, but at the same time, it was to liberate numerous souls and give them bliss. Another name is Sahajanand Swami, Narayan Muni, Sarjudas. These names were given by Ramanand Swami when he received Vaishnavi Diksha into the Uddhav Sampradaya, into the Sampradaya of Ramanand Swami. Swaminarayan, the name that many people know him by, was given by himself through the Swaminarayan mantra in Farneni, Gujarat. And Shriji Maharaj is a loving name given by his devotees. So these are the few of the many names of Bhagwan Swaminarayan. There's the Janamangala Namavali, which is 108 names of Bhagwan Swaminarayan. There's the Sarva Mangala Namavali, the 1,008 names of Bhagwan Swaminarayan. There's the Sahajanand Namavali, the 108 names of Bhagwan Swaminarayan in accordance with the Akshar-Purushottam tradition. And so many, many different names. However, these are the most common and the most popular names. And so let's first look at his life. Bhagwan Swaminarayan was born in 1781. His name was Ghanshyam Pandey. He belonged to a very pious family. He was born on April 3rd, 1781. Chaitra Sud 9, Chaitra Sud Nom, Vikram Samvat, which is the Hindu year, calendar year, 1837. This is the same date as Ram Navami, the birth of Bhagavan Ramchandra. He was born in Chapaya, which is a village near Ayodhya, where it is the birthplace of Bhagavan Ram. And this is in the state of Uttar Pradesh in India, northern India. And his family was very pious. His father's name was Hari Prasad or Dharmadev, commonly known as Dharmadev. And his father was a scholar himself. His mother was named Premvati, or most commonly known as Bhakti Mata. His older brother is a Ram Pratap Bhai, and his younger brother is Icharam Bhai. Now, during his years as a child, he displayed various incidents of his not only miraculous nature, but a higher purpose of liberating numerous souls. He defeated demons, for example, Kali Dutt. He uplifted souls. He showed the path of righteousness to a fisherman who would enjoy killing fish. He would show the correct path to various scholars as well. He hinted at a higher purpose in many different instances. One instance is climbing a branch and looking into the west, hinting at the state of Gujarat, and him even saying that my aspirants are waiting for me, my devotees are waiting for me. Now, many people, of course, at the time do not know what he is hinting at, but these are small hints of his higher purpose of liberating souls. Now, another important note is he began his studies of the Hindu Shastras, Hindu scriptures at the age of 5, but in 5 years mastered all of the Hindu scriptures. Once there was a debate in Kashi or Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh, the northern state of India, and there were many scholars there of various traditions and philosophical, traditions. There were Advaits, Vishishtadvaits. So many different scholars were there for debates, and various topics were debated on. For example, what is greater, knowledge or devotion, Gnan or Bhakti? Another one is God Sakar or Nirakar? Does God have a form or is formless? What is the essence of the Hindu scriptures? These are some of the many questions asked during the debates, and one by one, Ghanshyam or Bhagwan Swaminarayan would be able to answer them in accordance with the Hindu scriptures. And these answers would ultimately become a basis of the Akshar-Purushottam darshan, or his philosophy that he established. Now, in 1792, following the death of his parents, both of his parents, Ghanshyam left home of Ayodhya and began his Vanvicharan, or his travels around India. Van meaning forest, and so his travels in the forest, but more commonly, or more appropriately, his travels around India. And for 7 years, 1 month and 11 days following that, he would be known as Nilkant Varni. Varni means an ascetic. And so he would be known as Nilkant Varni throughout his 8,000-mile pilgrimage all around India. He performed intense penance at various places, for example, Badrinath, Mansarovar, Muktinath. In many additional places in the Himalayas, he would perform intense penance and austerities. He spent 9 months with a sage by the name of Gopal Yogi and mastered Ashtang Yoga, the eightfold path of yoga or yoga. He blessed and liberated numerous aspirants, yogis, ascetics. He blessed many kings, many villages, many kingdoms. There would be kings who would give him their own kingdom. And Nilkant would deny. There would be sages or swamis, Hindu monks, who would offer their own ashram, their hermitage to him, but Nilkant would refuse. And so here you could see a quick map of Nilkant Varni's travels. He began in Ayodhya, in northern India, and then he traveled up northward to Haridwar, Badrinath, Mansarovar, and then back down to Ayodhya and looped around to Vanshipur, Muktinath, down towards the Bay of Bengal, and then going along the southern tip of India, Jagannath Puri, Kanchipuram, Rameshwaram, Kanyakumari, and looping back up to Pune, Vadodara, and ultimately ending up in Lodh. Now, why did Bhagwan Swaminarayan end up in Lodh? Well, during his travels, he decided that he would only stay in one place if someone could satisfactorily answer his 5-part question. And that question was, what is Jeev? What is Ishwar? What is Maya? What is Brahm? What is Parabrahm? These 5 entities, or these 5 questions, would become the basis of the Akshar-Purushottam tradition, would become the basis of Swaminarayan Vedanta, the philosophy of Bhagwan Swaminarayan. And so he ended his travels in Lodh at the age of 18 after a senior disciple of Ramanand Swami. Ramanand Swami was a disciple of Ramanujacharya, and he followed the Uddhav Sampradaya, it is known. And so Muktanand Swami was a senior disciple of Ramanand Swami. And so Muktanand Swami answered his questions satisfactorily, and after 7 years, 1 month, and 11 days, Nilkant Varni ended his travels. The following year, he met Ramanand Swami and accepted him as his guru. And so Nilkant Varni received Vaishnavi Diksha into the Uddhav Sampradaya, accepting Ramanand Swami as his guru in 1800. He was given the names of Sahajanand Swami and Narayan Muni during this Diksha ceremony. And just exactly a year later, he was appointed as the head of the Uddhav Sampradaya, the successor of Ramanand Swami. And we will look at a very specific incident that happened in just a minute. And so at the age of 21, he received this successorship of the Uddhav Sampradaya upon the passing of Ramanand Swami. Now, Bhagwan Swaminarayan, when he was given the fellowship by Ramanand Swami, when Ramanand Swami said that this will be my successor, Bhagwan Swaminarayan, or Sahajanand Swami, Sahajanand Swami asked for 2 boons to his guru. He said, if your devotee is to suffer the pain of 1 scorpion bite, then may the pain of the sting of 1,000,000 scorpions fall on each and every pore of my body. But not a single ounce of pain should afflict your devotee. This just goes to show how much compassion Sahajanand Swami has for his devotees, for the devotees of Ramanand Swami, whom are also his devotees now. And the second is, he asks, if any of your devotees is destined to have a begging bowl, then let that begging bowl come to me, but let your devotee not suffer from the want of food or clothing. Please grant me these 2 boons. In the second boon, we can see that Sahajanand Swami, even, the amount of compassion that on the day of being the head of the fellowship, he wished for the devotees' benefit, that may they not face any pain in their life, and may they not have a destiny of a begging bowl in their life. Now, following the passing of Ramanand Swami, Bhagwan Swaminarayan became known as Swaminarayan after revealing the Swaminarayan mantra. He gave this mantra to all, and from that day forward, he was known as Bhagwan Swaminarayan, as he revealed the Swaminarayan mantra. To this day, devotees chant the name of Bhagwan Swaminarayan, 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 Swaminarayan. And it was also known as the Swaminarayan Sampradaya from then on, instead of the Uddhav Sampradaya. Bhagwan Swaminarayan traveled around Gujarat to guide aspirants. He traveled in many different places in order to uplift numerous souls, numerous people. He built 6 majestic traditional stone known as Shikharbad Mandirs. These 6 majestic traditional mandirs are still up and alive today after 200 years. He celebrated various festivals with the intention of devotion. He wanted to keep the purity of the devotion of the festivals intact, whether it's celebrating the Holi and Fuldo festival or Diwali, or celebrating a birth of Shri Ram Bhagwan, Shri Krishna Bhagwan. He would ensure that the festivals were celebrated with the sole intention of devotion, to keep the purity of the festivals. Bhagwan Swaminarayan, in one night in Kalvani, he initiated 500 sadhus in one night. These were known as Paramhansas, the foremost disciples of Bhagwan Swaminarayan. And these disciples, these sadhus, the Hindu monks who were initiated, they were of the highest caliber. Some were writers, poets, artists. They had many different talents, and they came from a wide range of backgrounds, statuses, classes. And yet, Bhagwan Swaminarayan brought all of them together under his wing as sadhus. And he used those talents for devotion. He inspired the sadhus to create commentaries on the Hindu scriptures, to write devotional kirtans or devotional songs, to paint, to draw, to build mandirs for architecture, and many more. Bhagwan Swaminarayan also promoted non-violent yagnas. There was a notion at the time that if a fire ritual known as a yagna was to be done, then an animal sacrifice is a must. However, he promoted ahimsa meaning non-violent yagnas. He promoted and empowered women and abolished superstition in society. There's common practices known as dudpiti, which is female infanticide, where when a female is born, they would dip the female in milk, or sati pratha. This is the practice where when a husband dies, then the wife would also burn on the funeral pyre with the husband. And so Bhagwan Swaminarayan empowered women by giving them a space to offer devotion and abolishing these rituals, abolishing these superstitions in society. Bhagwan Swaminarayan also served all regardless of their caste, class, creed, religion. Whenever there was a drought or a disaster, he would be there to offer food, water, shelter, and aid. He would open almshouses, charitable houses for the poor. He accepted the devotion. He accepted devotees regardless of whatever status or background they may be of. And this was seen by many as a reform at the time, where people would be hesitant about this. But Bhagwan Swaminarayan brought about this unique change to society. He inspired a pious lifestyle, free of addictions, to all. There are many instances, one being of Joban Pagi, who was a thief, a looter, who would kill people, yet even though he was feared in the village and in many villages, his life was transformed because of Bhagwan Swaminarayan's compassion, and is known as Bhaktaraj, or as one who is one of the highest caliber of devotees. There are many devotees, for example, Jiva Khachar, Dada Khachar, who have served Bhagwan Swaminarayan while maintaining such a pure and simple lifestyle. Bhagwan Swaminarayan also wrote the Shiksha Patri, which is a scripture of the code of commands for those of the Swaminarayan Sampradaya, the Swaminarayan Fellowship. His discourses were also written down in notes by various sadhus, and these were compiled into a scripture that would later be known as the Vachanamrut. Bhagwan Swaminarayan also met with various religious and political leaders. He even met with British leaders and missionaries, one being Sir John Malcolm. And he met Sir John Malcolm and even gifted the Shikshapatri to him. And this Shikshapatri is still in display in the Oxford Library till this day. And during his final years, he met with his disciples very closely, including Aksharbrahman Gunatit Swami one last time, before he departed back to his abode on June 1st, 1830, in the village of Garada in Gujarat, where he stayed for 30 years. And so, this was Bhagwan Swaminarayan's life in a very short and brief moment. But what about his legacy? Once Bhagwan Swaminarayan revealed 6 objectives of his birth to a senior disciple known as Gopalanand Swami. And during this conversation, even though it was a private conversation, a senior disciple by the name of Nishkudanand Swami actually overheard this conversation and noted it down. And in very short, these were the 6 objectives. That first, to spread the true worship and true knowledge. Second is to guide followers to attaining liberation. Third is to liberate his parents Bhaktimata and Dharmadev. Fourth is to revive the tradition of Ekantik Dharma or Bhagavad Dharma, which consists of 4 pillars: Dharma or righteousness, Gnan or knowledge, Vairagya or detachment, and Bhakti or devotion. The 5th objective is to give the fruits of the austerities and the devotion of all those who have been worshipping God, and all these aspirants who have been awaiting to meet God. And the 6th is the tradition of Shastra, Mandir, and Sant. Shastras to give rise to scriptures narrating the divine incidents of his life and expounding on his principles. Mandirs to build mandirs of worship, and Sant to maintain a tradition of a lineage of Ekantik sadhus to keep the Ekantik Dharma, the foundations of Ekantik Dharma remaining, and to keep the door of liberation open. And so we can see that in his legacies of building 6 traditional stone mandirs in Gujarat. We can see it in his legacy of sadhus, initiating over 2,000 sadhus, 500 being his foremost disciples, his Paramhamsas. He established 2 administrative heads known as Gadis, where an Acharya is leading each of these administrative heads and allowing devotees, regardless of their background or status, allowing them to offer devotion and worship. He left a legacy of social work. This is noted by many Gujarati authors and even British authors in their diaries, that Bhagwan Swaminarayan's social work was revolutionary. His legacy of scriptures, not only writing the Shikshapatri, but also his discourses written down in the Vachanamrut. And he encouraged the writing of additional scriptures such as commentaries, the Satsangi Jivan, Bhakta Chintamani, and many more of his sadhus. And finally, leaving a legacy of the Aksharbrahman Guru. There would be numerous occasions, whether it be during the Holi festival in Sarangpur, Gujarat, in the vicinity of Rathod Dadal, who owned that vicinity, that neighborhood. He explained that the Sadguru, the Akshar-Brahma, that is Gunatit Swami. The Tilak Janlo incident, where Bhagwan Swaminarayan applied the very first Tilak Janlo to Gunatit Swami's forehead and explained his glory. Like this, numerous occasions, Bhagwan Swaminarayan has explained the glory of Gunatit Swami's Akshar-Brahma and left a lineage of the Akshar-Brahma Guru, who will continue the work of liberation of Bhagwan Swaminarayan. And so today we looked at a very short, very brief look into Bhagwan Swaminarayan's life. Now, in the next episode, we will dive deep into Bhagwan Swaminarayan's Vedanta. What is Bhagwan Swaminarayan's philosophy? And we will take a look to what the Akshar-Purushottam darshan is. And hopefully, in these first 2 episodes, you will get a broader idea of the Swaminarayan tradition and the Akshar-Purushottam tradition as well. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow on episode 2. Shri Swaminarayan Bhagavani Jai.